We begin with breaking news that we've been following. Connecticut state troopers have arrested a man accused of kidnapping someone in Springfield. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday, and welcome everyone to Western Mass News at 6. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Mary Wilson. Western Mass News reporter Kristen Burnell joins us live now with more. Kristen.
Chris and Mary, we have learned that the Springfield Police Department contacted Connecticut State Police just after 8 p.m. last night for an active kidnapping in Springfield yesterday. Springfield Police tell Western Mass News they were able to provide Connecticut State troopers a description of the suspect's vehicle, a gold Chevy Malibu that was last known to be traveling southbound on Interstate 91 towards Connecticut. This was the scene that Connecticut traffic cameras picked up when the suspect was arrested just before exit 36 in the area of Windsor, Connecticut. Investigators then determined that the adult passenger of that car was the victim who had reported the incident to Springfield Police. The operator of the car was then identified as 25-year-old Willie Avery Campbell of Hartford, Connecticut. The latest word from Connecticut State Police is Campbell was being held on a $100,000 bond and facing the following charges: assault in the 3rd degree, kidnapping in the 2nd degree, unlawful restraint in the 2nd degree, operating a motor vehicle without minimum insurance, operating an unregistered motor vehicle, and operating without a license. Now, this is a developing story, so details are still limited. So be sure to stick with Western Mass News, both on air and online, for the latest information. For now, reporting live in Springfield, Kristen Burnell, Western Mass News.